and welcome to another edition of Trade Talk TV. Today we got Jourdain from Index Exchange here. Jourdain, thanks for coming to the office.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Today we're going to talk about header bidding. It's a big subject at the minute. A lot of publishers are using the technology, but what is it? Jourdain's here today to talk about what header bidding is all about and how publishers can use it to increase yield and make more money. So before that, Jourdain, just give us an overview of what you do at Index and a bit more about the company.
Absolutely. So what I focus on is publisher integrations and this new wave of publisher integration, which involves us placing our API for accessing our demand on the publisher's site directly, as it relates to integrating with the ad server environment that's on the site, whether that's a DFP, OAS, or ad tech style environment. And through that method of integration, we're able to see everything an ad server sees. And we're able to activate demand in a way that we couldn't in a typical waterfall, where we were only seeing maybe a small portion of the publisher's inventory, and perhaps after it had already passed through another provider.
Okay.
So it gives us that first look, equal access to an ad server, and for the first time.
Okay. So let's look at what is header bidding. Let's talk about how it works,
Sure.
the process, but let's explain via the medium of this whiteboard and the marker how header bidding works, where it takes place, because obviously we have a sort of a basic knowledge of it in the sense that it helps to sort of increase yield for publishers, but the actual auction takes place before the actual page loads or the ads load. So give us sort of a technical insight in how that works.
Absolutely. So we'll start off with a website here.
It's like a massive tablet.
Yeah, this is the
iPad Pro.
This is the iPad Pro. That's right. Okay, so we have our inventory. I think those ratios are pretty close.
Yeah.
And up inside of a web page, invisible to the user, you have all kinds of libraries: jQuery, CSS. So we're up there with our tag, and what we've done is, when that tag gets loaded, we're making a request to our demand API, which then contacts all of the bidders where we've made low latency connections to their platforms, and we're returning back pricing information. And when we make that request, we ahead of time, we know there's these two slots on the page that we're looking to monetize. So as part of that API request, we're including information about the dimensions of these units, some type of an identifier, a unified identifier that we've created for them, and then in the response back, we're getting like a bid price. So like let's just say you have a $10 or £10 bid. You also have the potential of private marketplace deals. So we could get a response for deal 1, 2, 3, and that information, once it's acquired from the API in the context of what's on this page, the ad server has its own API. Okay, so the ad server API is going to be instantiated at some point on the page as well. And what we do is we send these parameters into the ad server's API so that we can communicate these targeting parameters to the ad server through what we call key value targeting. And that's something that ad servers have supported from day one, where we're able to pass information in. Publishers have used the same mechanism to pass information into the ad server for a long time for things like context or through working with their DMP for audience.
Okay, let's just say most publishers in UK and Europe use DFP, okay? And we have line items for each of the orders itself. So let's say this top one here is a £10 for, it might be Ad Network one or a direct deal, and this one's £5, okay? So just tell us how this process helps. So the publisher tells you this data that we've set this up for £10, we set this up for £5. You're looking at the information there, and you go out to the market to see if you can beat that price.
Correct.
Okay.
What we do is we try to determine what our win rate is for each possible price point. So as part of the configuration, this is more on the page. In the ad server itself, we create line items for each one of these particular ad sizes at each one of the price points, you know, 11, 12. And we send a certain amount of bids into each one of these price points to try to find, well, where are we winning? Where are we finding success? A publisher can guide that and accelerate that by just saying, look, you got to be above 10 pounds to win this auction, which we take into consideration. But our algorithm will just sample as many price points as we're given in the ad server, looking at win rate. And we unlock the potential that's there. And once we've identified where we're performing well in terms of win rate, that's when we set our floors and heavy up into that particular price bin.
And they can set this up through your own UI, or is it sort of you're included in the line item, or how does that work?
So we through APIs generate DFP line items. Publishers also, in some cases, prefer to do that work themselves. So depending on the level of access that the publisher's comfortable granting us, that's what drives who really creates the DFP configuration, but we support both models. The reality, though, is that there is some level of ad server configuration required to interpret this information that's coming back through this API.
So how do we get here? Why is header bidding the thing now? What's the value of it? Why is it a thing now?
I think it's a thing because there hasn't up until this point been a formalized interface in the ad server for allowing our bids with 100% look into the publisher's inventory and audience. There hasn't been a formalized way for us to send those bids into the ad server. So we really had to innovate and come up with an approach that would solve that by telling the ad server through an ancient mechanism of key value targeting how much we would pay for something. So
you effectively hacked holistic yield ad management effectively.
I would say it's
because I just from my own point of view, I started using DFP quite a lot, and the biggest frustration I had was I want to open everything up to the auction, to the open market.
Absolutely.
But DFP doesn't allow that to a certain part. It's got dynamic allocation, which is just basically Alex coming into the bid. So you're saying that through the use of the header bidding technology, you can sort of democratize the whole process.
That's exactly the way that I look at it as well. And I mean, I think that's the yield aspect to it. I think there's quite a number of layers of value for the publisher, but definitely, why did this even start? I think it really started as us trying to independently create an agreement between all the parties that are involved in the marketplace on how we think that we should be able to communicate our best price for publishers.
And so, I mean, are publishers embracing this technology? Are they seeing the value of it? I mean, and you're bringing outside demand into direct and indirect buys. So are they seeing real value?
Absolutely. This model drives incremental revenue. When we do A/B analysis, both from the perspective of creating more competition in the publisher's existing marketplace, and also new opportunity that they've discovered that they didn't even know existed. So definitely I would say publishers are quickly learning, shifting to this technology and looking to partner with somebody who understands how it all works and get a piece of what's going on here.
So why would a publisher use an ad server then? I mean, if you're going to the publisher saying we can bring in more demand, we can open up your direct buys or direct sales and indirect to the entire ecosystem. So why would could you see a situation where publishers start moving away from ad servers and moving more to this sort of holistic yield management process?
Yeah, I think that there's a path to that where the ad server becomes less involved in the transactions that are occurring, and I think that's something that's going to take a certain amount of time. And the reason why is when we look at 100% fill, what does it take a publisher to really monetize every possible opportunity? They have to do everything. They have to work with everybody. Not everybody has sophisticated header bidding, low latency technology available. Their direct lines of business may still be a considerable size, and they want to have something acting as this universal auctioneer. So until all those things evolve to the point where the ad server is irrelevant, which is just a sort of a natural evolution of things, I still believe that it will stay in this central role. But if we look at the evolution of programmatic and the capabilities of that ecosystem, it is squeezing things out of the ad server that normally would live in the ad server and allowing us to activate them elsewhere.
And in terms of the yield that your publisher's seeing, is there you seeing a lot of lift happening in terms of the auctions?
Absolutely. It's significant in terms of increasing competition, driving up prices, because these are not floors. These are buyers that are committed to a certain price and they want to acquire that impression. And additionally, there is an incremental demand component to this where perhaps the publisher didn't have enough demand flowing into their platform. They weren't talking to enough buyers or being introduced.
And that's the case. You're going out to the market as a whole and you're saying, listen, there's impressions available here. Here's my audience segments. Here's the impressions available.
Right.
I want you to bid on it.
Yeah, we're putting everything we possibly can into supporting the publisher, and all of our team members, our yield experts, our introductions to trading desks and things like that. So anything we can possibly do as a partner in this model, we're driving that extra value to the publisher.
So Jordan, there's been a lot of heat around header bidding. I mean, there's a lot of people now introducing their own sort of header bidding technology. Is that going to have a problem for latency on pages? And it's a lot of JavaScript to load even the header tags might slow things down. Is that going to be an issue, given the fact we've had a lot of the rise of ad blocking, etc.? It's kind of like being based on user experience. And are we going to see more pages being slowed down by this process?
I think it comes down to who is a publisher partnering with this technology. Are they asking the right questions? Are they configuring it in such a way that it's optimal for user experience? There are a number of paths to accomplish this, and every partner has a different set of capabilities. And things like enforcing latency or enforcing an asynchronous environment. There are a lot of easy ways to implement this that may not be optimal for user experience. So the publisher has to be armed with the information that, as great as it is and as much hype as there is about this, there definitely is a component to it which involves really understanding how this technology works so they can maximize the outcome without being penalized somehow through a negative user experience.
What about programmatic direct and other things like that? I mean, you talk about the private marketplace stuff. Do you see that becoming a part of that as well?
It's a huge part of this framework. In this line item model we had here, instead of this more price governed model, we could have more of a private marketplace governed model, and we can have this may exist, let's just say, at a priority 12 remnant type solution. Where I think things get a lot more exciting is in the premium space, where we have a particular line item at maybe a priority 4 with some type of a delivery commitment on it for a buyer, and they want to activate their deal 1, 2, 3, and all this priority 12 action is great, and it exists, and it's bottom fill. But in the case where we get a key signal from a key buyer, where there's a negotiation that's occurred through deal discovery and things of that nature, we're able to activate that line item and give it preferential access to the ad stack. So again, because we're making this connection, and because we're already allowing this auction to occur and we're contacting buying platforms, it opens us up to everything we could do with a buying platform.
So we look forward to seeing how this will roll out into Europe. I know you're pretty active in the US and Canada with this now, but now it's you guys are in Europe, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes, and I'm sure we'll see you at the Mexico as well.
Absolutely.
Jordan, thanks very much for coming in.
A pleasure. Thank you.
And that was Trader Talk TV, and we'll see you next week.